Well, hey, I'm David. I'm in the Kyser warehouse with the last session on using the Kyser Capo. And man, we've explored so many great things and creativity, and I hope that you've taken the journey to just jump out there and experiment, because it's fun to just get out there and experiment and make mistakes, because in the context of making those mistakes, we find those jewels, man, those pearls that become parts of our playing and our performance. And so don't give up on doing that. Just keep exploring. The last session I wanted to do with you is introduce you to just some chords that maybe you could use in your playing, because as we've talked through the ideas of moving our capos into different positions to use different keys to maybe play by ourselves or to play with others, you may have listened to me say, well, hey, if you'll put the capo, on the 3rd fret and play in the key of A, it sounds like C. It'll be really cool. But you're thinking, dude, I don't play in the key of A because there's some crazy chords in there. I don't do bar chords, and so I'm just going to skip that part. I'm not going to do that. But what I'd like to do is maybe give you a little relief in your thinking there by just providing some alternative chords that you could use in your playing that would allow you potentially to play in the main keys that we guitarists like to play in when we're not using a capo, those being A, C, D, E, G. And so what I'd love to do is go through each of the chords in those keys and play examples of some forms that maybe would be simpler, easier for you to use. And to be honest with you, I use them a lot just because I like the way they color the music that I play. Now, at the end of this particular video, you'll find a link to a resource that will show you all of these examples so that you can study those for yourself and practice them on your own. So I'm just going to move through those keys, give you those examples. So the first one, I'll just go with the key of A. And as we move through each key, and as you look at the examples on that sheet, you will notice that when I get to the 7th chord in each of these examples, I'm going to be using a major chord form with a different bass note in it. It's going to be called a 5/7 chord. That's because when we get into the deep dive into music theory, as we're going through chords, for example, the chords in the key of G are G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, and then the next one is F sharp diminished. Okay? So let me do those one more time. Here's the G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor, F sharp diminished, G. That chord has more of kind of a bluesy flair or jazz flair. I mean, I remember that kind of thing from Bugs Bunny cartoons. And so we just don't use those a lot in traditional music. I have a blues song I wrote a few years ago, and I've got it kind of jammed into a section where we do a turnaround with the band, but we typically don't play those. And so a typical substitution for that 7th chord in the series is to take the 5 chord, the 5th chord, G, A minor, B minor, C, D, that's my 5th chord, and I'm going to put the 7th note, F sharp. We said F sharp diminished, but I'm just going to snag the F sharp, the bass note, and I'm going to put it in the bass. Okay? D slash F sharp. That's what we call it, a slash chord. Sometimes we'll call it an inverted chord. We're putting a different note in the bass than normally what would be there. D would normally be there, but we're putting an F sharp there. So it teases that 7 chord diminished, and then we land back at the G. So when you look at the additional material, you'll see that we are substituting in those chords every time for that 7th chord in sequence. You'll also see another attachment that's entitled, What Key Am I In? What Chords Do I Use? And that chart will actually reflect that. You will see the diminished chord, but then you'll see that substitute chord right after it. So be sure to check that out. So here we go, back to A. So here's A. Here's my form of B minor 7 that I use. That's simpler. The next chord is a C sharp minor, and I'm using a C sharp minor 7 form. Then D, then E, then F sharp minor, Then E over G sharp is really this chord just slid up 2 frets. And then back to the A. So one more time. A, B minor, C sharp minor, D, E, F sharp minor, E over G sharp form to the A. Now let's go to G. We'll do the same thing. All right, here's G. It's the first chord. G, A minor 7, B minor 7. I'm going to use a C2 for fun. C2. D, E minor, then D over F sharp. This is my 7th chord. And then the G. One more time. G, A minor, B minor, C, D, E minor. I'm going to throw in E minor 7 there for that one. And then D over F sharp. And then G. This one can be a challenge. Some folks can't get their thumb around there. If you can't do that, don't worry about it. I have one student that uses this form for their D over F sharp. They just rearrange the fingers, get the thumb out of the picture, and they play the D over F sharp like that. Okay, so that was A and G. Let's do D next, all right? So here's D. D, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, B minor 7 is what I'm using. And then we have the next chord, which is A over C sharp to D. So D, E minor, F sharp minor, G, A, B minor, A over C sharp, D. Let's go to C. C, D minor 7, E minor, F. I'm using an F with the added 9 in there. I know F can be a challenging chord too. Depending on who your teacher is, some of my students, I just tell them do it like me. I hold it like a shotgun. I really do. That's the way I can get the greatest amount of force on my strings. And I actually add the F note in the bass as well here. So I'll start over. C, D minor 7, E minor, F, add 9 with G, A minor, then G over B, and C. One more time. C, D minor 7, E minor, F, G, A minor, G over B, C. Then the last progression is the key of E. I love the key of E, and these chord forms are a lot of fun. These were some chord forms that I learned kind of back in the time when I started messing around with the shortcut capo. Kind of a different sound in the 90s with kind of the alternative rock scene growing. And so here's a good old E, E, F sharp minor 7, E over G sharp, we used that earlier. I'm using an A2 here, and then I'm using a B sus, C sharp minor 7, and here's my B over D sharp, and then back to the E. Okay, so let's do that again. Now I want to show you something. This is pretty cool if you haven't seen this. My ring finger, I want you to watch. Here's the E, it's on the 4th string. F sharp minor, ring finger, 4th string. E over G sharp, still on the 4th string. A2, that 3rd finger still on the 4th string. The B sus, ring finger still on the 4th string. Still on the 4th string on the C sharp minor 7. Then it takes a trip off of that for just a moment for the B over D sharp, then back to the E. E, F sharp minor 7, E over G sharp, A, B, sus, C sharp minor, B over D sharp. I'm going to add that pinky ends. I like the sound of that better than that. And then to the E. You'll notice I didn't play a G sharp minor for the 3rd chord. It's pretty easy to pull it off though. Here's E, F sharp minor, and then for the G sharp minor, I can flip over here, but it still sounds a lot like the E over G sharp. It's just kind of a substitute chord. You can play with that. A regular G sharp minor 7 would be like this, but we're throwing in a bar chord then. So trying to make it simpler. easy on-ramp in all of those keys. So check out the attachments. Make sure that you're looking through what key am I in, what chords do I use. You'll also see some alternate chords that you can use in writing songs. We're borrowing other chords from other keys, but sometimes they fit really well into some different keys. So check that out. That chart was kind of motivated from a book that I read called How to Write Songs on Guitar. And I love that resource. It's been a super help to me. Hopefully it will help you. And also check out those chord forms. And then start playing with that capo. Move it around, play in different keys, play with some friends, explore the possibilities. Because here at Kyser, we want you to use this tool. It's not a crutch, it's a tool, and you can use it to make great music. We hope you've enjoyed this series. Thanks.